What are you working on right now?
So right now I'm doing a book about basketball. It's my first nonfiction graphic novel. It's about a high school team out of Oakland. It's the team of the school where I used to teach. They're called the Bishop O'Dowd Dragons. I got to know the head coach. His name is Lou Ritchie, and he's the first African-American head coach of the men's team at Bishop O'Dowd. He is actually an alum of the school, so he graduated in '89. And when he was a junior on the team, they went to this California State Championship. They played against a SoCal team called the Manual Arts Toilers, and they were down by 1 with 7 seconds left. So Lou was on the court, and he gets the ball. He puts it up at the buzzer, and it goes through the hoop. So the whole team is just freaking out. They're so happy that they won. He's hugging his coach, and then it comes over the loudspeaker that the refs have invalidated the call, or invalidated the shot. And they invalidated it because supposedly the center of Bishop O'Dowd had his hand on the rim as the ball was going through the hoop. Lou now, he's in his mid 40s, and he actually gave me the tape. And he told me, he said, go look, watch this tape. You tell me if his hand was on the rim. And I have to say, I watched the tape. Hard to tell, very hard to tell. So he's still thinking about it. It's been decades, and he's still thinking about that shot.
But it's not clear cut.
It's not clear cut.
Okay.
It's not clear cut. Like the announcers of the game, it was a televised game, and the announcers of the games were like, "That's a really gutty call to do that to a bunch of high school kids, right?" So he eventually graduates from high school, graduates from O'Dowd. He goes to UCLA. He plays for John Wooden. Is that his name? Legendary basketball coach at UCLA. Coached Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then he goes to Clemson, and he plays there. And then he gets injured. He fathers some kids. He has this really crazy birthday weekend where he gets it sounds like a joke, but it's not. I checked into it. He gets 3 women pregnant. One of them has twins, so he ends up having 4 kids. So he has to stop playing. Basically, he has to stop playing. He goes to work for a tech startup. He works for Target for a little bit, and then he comes back. He comes back as an assistant coach to his old head coach, and then he becomes the head coach. So as an assistant coach and as a head coach, he has led 5 teams to the state championship, and he lost all 5 times. So as a player and as a coach, he was 0 of 6. He never got to redeem that old hurt from when he was in high school. The reason why I followed them for the season that I did, the 2014-2015 season, is that Lou had this kid on his team named Ivan Rabb. At the time, he was ESPN's top recruit for his class. Eventually, that spot went to Ben Simmons, but because he had Ivan on the team, that was supposedly his best chance at finally winning the California State Championship.
I see.
Yeah.
So the point of the book.
Well, the point of the book, I think the immediate driver of the book is Lou going to actually redeem this old hurt, right? But as I was working on it, it actually became more, I ended up as a character in the book, and I think it became more about stepping out in the face of uncertainty. One of the things that really struck me during this season of following this basketball team is the difference between basketball and comics. And I think one of the big differences is that with comics, at the beginning of your narrative, you kind of know how it's going to end, right? Like with a superhero comic, with Superman, you kind of know that no matter what, Superman's going to win at the end. But with basketball, it is just not like that. At the beginning of that season, I had no idea whether or not they would even make it to the state championship. And at the beginning of every game, even if it feels mismatched, even if it feels like one team is just way better than the other, you really have no idea who's actually going to win, right? Anything can happen. So there's a certain level of uncertainty that I think a basketball player has to deal with that a comic book writer doesn't.
I think that's why a lot of people prefer sports over narratives, actually. A lot of people, they don't like movies, especially comics. There's a lot of people who don't even ever pick up a comic. But I think it's because I've heard somebody say this, like, somebody wrote this. I know somebody wrote this. You know what I mean? So they can't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
hook into it
Yeah,
as much.
so they can't hook into it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I kind of get that. I kind of get where they're coming from with that.
But you weren't a fan of basketball before this story,
no,
right?
I was not really.
So after doing this book, now do you feel?
I do follow basketball now. I mean, I feel like I'm not an expert. I can't, when I'm watching a game, I can't explain to you what's happening and why all the time. But I do understand why people find it so exciting. And I do get, I just also think that basketball occupies this very interesting place in American culture, because it's it began as like the sport of the underdog. It began as almost like the sport of the losers, like if you were not rich enough and established enough to be able to afford a field, you played basketball. And I just thought, as I looked into the sport, that became really interesting to me.
Did you feel like there was a parallel there to comics as well? Because comics is also a medium.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but you're right. You're right. It's all the same thing, right? The equipment that's required is just so easy to get. The bar is so low. There's really no gatekeepers.
It's true. You don't need a racket. You don't need a racket. You just need a ball from Kmart and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because the courts are everywhere.
Yeah, courts are everywhere. You can just use the bucket, like an actual bucket as the basket.
Yeah, in comics you just need typing paper and some pencils.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Are there any other sports like that?
I mean, I've heard soccer's a little bit like that, right? Soccer's a little bit like that.
That's why it's so universal.
Yeah.
But even that, you do need that goal and a huge.
You do
field.
need the goal. Yeah, the field is the tricky part.
Yeah.
I think fields are very expensive to maintain.
You're right. So basketball is definitely the most accessible. Did you get first into basketball from Jeremy Lin, or where is the date?
I think I got interested in basketball because of Jeremy Lin for sure, and also because around the same time my kid, like my oldest, our son, started playing on his school's team, so it all kind of happened all at once, that, and then I think that, and then I read some books about basketball that led me to talking more to Lou, and then he invited me to go watch his games, and it all kind of.
So that happened after Jeremy.
I didn't become friends with Lou until after Jeremy Lin. Yeah, Jeremy Lin was definitely.
So he was sort of the spark.
He was a spark for sure. Him and my kid probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Were the sparks.
Did you ever think he would do a comic about basketball?
No, heck no. If he had told me 3 years ago, no, not 3 years ago. I was already working on this. If he had told me a year before I started that I was going to make a a book about basketball, I wouldn't have believed you.
That's crazy because it's so much work.
It's so much work. Yeah, I can't believe I did it, or I'm doing it. It's so crazy. And the other thing is that because I didn't really grow up with the game, I feel really unsure about certain parts of the book. Whether the hands are right or whether you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. Whether the players are standing in the right spots on the court. I feel really uncertain about a lot of the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you a little bit afraid that maybe huge fans of basketball will pick it apart?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. I was worried about that, so I did Boxers and Saints, which is about the Boxer Rebellion, and I was worried that experts in the Boxer Rebellion would call me on things that I got wrong, and that totally happened. So I expect that to happen, maybe even more with this book. Yeah.
Okay. Is there ever a time that you regret doing this book? Because it's a huge commitment.
I don't think I think about that anymore. Yeah, I feel like I gotta get it done. Yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of anxiety about it, but I mean that's sort of what I learned from basketball, right? It doesn't matter. Like I would watch these kids. The youngest kid on that team was 14, and we flew to Florida to play Ben Simmons' team on ESPN. And that kid actually, he wasn't a starter, but he was good enough that he actually got some time on the court. And he put up a shot on national TV surrounded by these giant 18-year-olds. It went in too. So it's just, I think there's just I came away feeling a deep admiration for these kids and their ability to just kind of do it, even in the face of fear, just stepping onto the court, even in the face of fear, they were able to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think just as impressive, or maybe more impressive, is sometimes they would make these mistakes, these terrible mistakes, and the whole crowd would boo or they would gasp because the mistake was so bad. And it's not like they could stop the game and think about it. They just had to keep going. You know, they had to sort of put that mistake behind them and focus on what was happening in front of them. And I could see that, like, that's not easy for me as an adult to do. And so to watch like these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids do it is kind of crazy.
Wow. So it actually inspired you.
Yeah, it did. It just made me think that, you know, with this book specifically, even though I have anxiety about it, I still have to just get it done.
Altogether, how much of your life would you have poured into this book by the end?
Well, I started on it in 2014. I've been working on other projects all the way through, but it'll be like 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, at least 5 years. It's my first nonfiction.
Yeah, what's that like doing the nonfiction?
It's been really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Because there's this question, you know, like when you're drawing, you're automatically lying at a certain level because nothing actually looks the way you drew it. At least for me, because I have a relatively cartoony style.
Yeah.
So it just it brings up all sorts of questions about, you know, like, how close should I stay to...
And then, like, how do you differentiate them in a cartoony style? Like, all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
And this one must have been really tricky because you have your family in the book.
Yeah, my family's in the book, and then the kids are minors. And
did you have to approve everything with your wife, like, whenever she was on the page?
No,
or, like,
not really.
Oh, okay.
I show her, and she's like, I wouldn't say that. I said, you said something like that. You know, so especially the scenes with my wife.
Yeah.
I did take some liberties. So I would, like, with a lot of what happened with the players and the coaches, I recorded, and then I would transcribe the recordings, and then I would pull the dialogue out of those transcriptions. Wow. But with my wife, it would just be me recreating conversations that I remember us having, because I didn't record them. Right. And then often it'd be like, it wouldn't be one conversation, right? It'd be like a summary of a bunch of conversations we had.
Got it. So we're getting much older now. We don't have as many years left. And this is going to be a lot of years devoted to this one book. Do you ever have regrets that this could have been used for something else?
I don't have regrets that it could have been used for something else. I don't think I have regrets. I think I have anxiety. Because I haven't done... Like, I've never done nonfiction. There's a lot of anxiety around that. I've never done anything about sports. I don't know a ton about sports. So there's a lot of anxiety about that. Yeah. I think I feel anxious more than regretful.
Okay, I see. Yeah. I'm like really excited to see, like you might get a lot of new readers you've never had before, like people into sports, which would be
that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Except they'd be like, you got the hands wrong here, you know. That's not the way that shot works.
Or they might think this is really inspiring and amazing.
Yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm anxious about.